Hello and afternoon. Welcome to yet another interesting episode of The People's Verdict. I'm your host, Patrick Soko, and I'm not in studio. Today I'm joined by the Western Province Minister, who is also the Member of Parliament from Nkehema constituency, and he is Mr. KAPELWA MBANGWETA. He is going to help me discuss the topic of discussion themed development prospects. Welcome to the program, Honorable.
Thank you very much for having me.
Interesting. We are glad that you could find time to be with us in the studio this afternoon.
Thank you so much.
Interesting. Well, our dear viewers, you too will be given an opportunity to join the conversation in case you want to contribute by engaging our guest or ask him one or two questions. You can do so or leave us a text message as well as leave us a message on our Facebook platform as well as YouTube. We are streaming live the program. You can invite others to join in and understand what we are talking about pertaining to development prospects, but with particular interest with North Western Province, which is also a critical and vital province in Zambia. So to just get started with our conversation, Honorable, we just start on a lighter note, first of all, to understand, first of all, how have you been adjusting to your position as the Minister for Western Province? How are you feeling it so far and being part of Parliament continuously?
Well, I think it's been reasonably okay, because in my previous life, if you like, I was coming from an office before I got into politics. So it was reasonably easy. A bit of challenges, of course, slightly different from what we were used to, but we have managed to get by.
Interesting. To get started, first of all, many have been of the view that the Constituency Development Fund, CDF, which has been escalated to 28.3 million kwacha, is a game changer in terms of development. Do you share such sentiments?
Yes. Allow me to give some background or some history so that we have a context. This is my second term in Parliament. The first term, 2016 to 2021, CDF by the previous government was at 1.6 million kwacha. During that 5-year period, it was only given twice and a quarter. Okay? So in effect, we are saying over a period of 5 years, the total amount which was given and late was 3.2 million kwacha. Now, my constituency has 8 wards. Other constituencies like Kasempa, they have probably got 23 wards. So during that time, what could you do with that sort of money for 8 constituencies? It was virtually zero. Okay? In our case, I think we managed only 2.5 projects that time. And because of the inherent corruption in the system, whereby contractors could come from anywhere and everywhere, the tendency then was that contractors came from urban areas, Lusaka or along the line of rail. So which means even the very few projects couldn't finish on time because most of them ran away. Once they were paid, they just absconded. Coming the CDF, why is it a game changer? I'll connect it in two ways. Firstly, as a minister, through President Hakainde Hichilema, he is the only president since independence who has given effect to the idea of decentralization. It was there even before him, okay? But none of the previous regimes managed to give effect to decentralization. Why? Because they would just talk about it, but not give effect by giving the power and the resources. Okay? So, part of my work as a minister, actually the greatest part of a provincial minister in the new order, is to remove power from Lusaka to the province, from the province to the district, to the constituents, to the wards. That is the biggest part of a provincial minister. So in effect, a successful provincial minister will be that who is able, for example, to capacitate the departments within their province. And that's where CDF comes in now to be a game changer. So I come to the constituents, my constituents. I've given you an example of what happened in 5 years, 3.7, which was more or less throughout the country, apart from a few of their favored constituencies. Now, the 25.7 million meant that during 2022, we were able to do 2 1-by-3 classroom blocks in each ward. Okay? And on top of that, there was a bit of money which remained. We were able to do a crossing point. Now, what does that tell you? It means that in 1 year, we have done 16 projects. Actually, if we include the bridge, 17. During the previous regime, I've told you in 5 years it was only 2.5, isn't it?
2.5 projects. So
you can see why we are calling it a game changer. That's part of community projects. What about the capacity building through skills development? We've been able to train more people at a shorter period who have now been capacitated to produce items like desks. If you go to my constituency in Kayema, you will start from TBZ, you find youth there making desks all the way, Kalale, Nalomino, Munkuye, Kangwan, all the way, okay? That is money in the community, and those people have been capacitated by this government. Before, it was very difficult. I had to interface with colleagues from my previous work experience who were able to sponsor a few youth and then give them equipment. But now this is there. Then we are talking about the secondary schools, part of it and so on. So that's what makes it a game changer, because in a place like in Kayema, if we are doing 2 projects per 1-by-3 classrooms, in 5 years, how many would we have done? 80, isn't it? That's huge.
Now, another argument has been that you mentioned an interesting aspect, which is a component of the Constituency Development Fund, a CDF, which is the training and capacity building of young people. Others on this platform have argued to say priority is being given to those who belong to the ruling party. Is that the case in your area?
Oh, come on. You see, that is the fallacious, because you know that if we go backwards, you haven't heard, even when there have been the few by-elections which have been caused by natural arrangements, you have never heard anybody from the UPND, starting from the top to the bottom, talk about we will not give you development because you come from a region where you don't support us. We don't talk about those things. People just come. Okay? As a matter of fact, you know, human life is very, very interesting. The people actually who are making much noise are the people whom we know having belonged to the opposition, which was very brutal, which was very discriminatory, and they are the people now who want to make noise in relation to everything. But it can't work, because the point is, if you come from Western Province, if you come from Kayema, you can immediately see the difference between a government which knows what it's doing through the President Hakainde Chilema, a government that has no discrimination, because even the CDF, how is it funded? Fully funded, and transmitted to all the accounts almost same minute. You just press a button, it goes to the various accounts and so on. which were not the same in the past. And so that's why we are saying those naysayers should just sit down and keep quiet, because they had 10 years, they failed, and in 1 year, we have to show what they used to call Sontapo is there. It can be seen. The example I've given you about is the making desks. I've told you, once you enter Nkema from TBZ, you see those things along the road. Those are children who have just been capacitated and so on. Some of them are employing others, and there's money in the community. And then also what we've done of encouraging local contractors, capacitating them, is very important, because I've told you that in the past, even to do a Mickey Mouse crossing point, a contractor would come from Chilelabombe, Lusaka, and so. Now it's not like that. When you use a local contractor, the advantage, although of course we accept that we are still building capacity, but the advantage is that there's social shame. Okay, if you do a bad job, even the villagers will go and they tell you, look, you cannot give us this bad job, because even your children, grandchildren, they will come here, give us something sustainable. Because of that, people are more serious. Secondly, you cannot switch off your phone, like what they used to do. Because they have paid me in Senanga, then I just come back to Lusaka, they will be calling, you don't even know who gave them the contract. So now, everything is there. The ground also is even in the sense that you cannot have contractors running to say they want to go to Western Province from Lusaka. Because even here in Lusaka has got more than 8 constituencies, isn't it? Why would a contractor from Lusaka Central, here where we are, cry that they want to go to Matero or they want to go to Kanyama? For what? They have their own 28.3 million here. So if they want, let them participate. It's fair. Even in our place, a contractor cannot cry to come to Nkema. Living, they are coming from where? They are coming from Kaoma, or they are coming from Rwampa. Why? They are leaving their money there. Through that, then you are building capacity. But overall, it means that the rural areas, which were marginalized in the past, are now better off, because now they can see what is happening, and they can see the beauty of inclusiveness. They can also feel the money. Before, people in Western Province, they were very scared about loans. Even my father used to say, I can't get a loan because the loan, when I die, it will follow you, and so on and so forth. But now, because of the conditions which are attached, people are talking about the loans, to have access, to be empowered, to make this and so on. So it means that things are changing.
Okay,
yeah.
Interesting. Well, our dear viewers, in case you are just joining us, you are watching The People's Verdict, and Patrick Soko, joined by Minister of Western Province, Mr. KAPELWA MBANGWETA, and we are discussing development prospects. In case you want to join the conversation later on, you can do so and give us that message or that call, and we get interacting to share about development. Remember, Camnet TV is on channel 274 on DSTV, channel 25 on GoTV, and channel 106 on Topstar. You can catch us on those frequencies, as well as on our live streams, being on Facebook as well as on YouTube. In case you want to join the conversation, the numbers are on your screen. And we continue with our program this afternoon, and now we look at an interesting aspect pertaining to the Constituency Development Fund. I remember that, especially last year, among topical issues, Mr. MBANGWETA, was the aspect of unlocking the CDF, in that the process was cumbersome, and that others felt it was, started suspecting that CDF was a scam. Probably there's no money in the government coffers. Now, this far, in terms of we are implementing the second batch of CDF, which is an escalated one from the previous 25.7 million kwacha to 28.3 million kwacha. Now, How has been the process so far? How have you been monitoring the process? Are we going towards the right trajectory in making sure that the tedious processes are eased when it comes to CDF?
Patrick, that's a very important question. Important in the sense that we were coming from a very difficult background, okay, where systems had totally broken down, okay? Corruption was endemic. Some people in the offices started thinking that if in the new order, when we took over government, and actually some of them still feel so, even now, that if you have an arrangement where there is no kickback, they feel that they have lost. Why? Because for a long time, they were used to that. Okay? So because of that, to put in a new system at an enhanced amount, it required that we had to put up proper systems and procedures. Okay? So that everything will work well. And this is where I'm also telling you that a successful provincial minister in the new order is the one who ensures that there's capacity building among the staff throughout, so that they get used to the new work methods and procedures. Yes, there were delays because one, we had to put systems in place which were not there. Remember, I told you that in 5 years, CDF was given at twice, 3.2. What is that, honestly? So it was easier to do 1 or 2 projects. It was easier to access that sort of thing. But even then, this is where I was saying there was escapism, because the way the projects then were being given was suspect. Yeah. So now the procurement arrangement had to be strengthened, and a number of changes. So we are in the process of making sure that things are done properly. Part of that is training of staff, so that they appreciate. Before, some of the people used to think to be in the office, you were privileged if you were, for example, in procurement, because everybody had to talk to you, had to give you something. In the new order, that's not the case. So part of the training is to change that mindset, that you are here to work, the government will pay you what is required. It's not for you to make people go through some processes which are not part of what is required. Okay, so yes, there were delays, but we are almost getting there now in terms of processes. And you check what I've told you about capacity. Or not all constituencies are at the same level of development. Okay? Other constituencies are far ahead in terms of projects implemented, in terms of the way where they are at. And those ones which are ahead, the differentiator is the swiftness with which the various local authorities workers have agreed to accept the new working methods.
Interesting. Now, Honorable, let's also now get to look at another interesting aspect. The issue of roads is something that has been talked about every time we engage people in the Western Province. Most of the concerns have been around roads. I don't know, what is the government's program pertaining to roads and bridges, especially the crossing point, especially pertaining to the rainy season? Not only Western Province is affected, but across the country, especially the rural parts of the country. Most of them, they are affected. But in the case of Western Province, what are you doing about that?
Okay, so that's a very important question, but it's also related to the past. Okay?
Why the past?
The past, I know you colleagues, including you, Patrick, you don't want to know about the past, but the point is, always, if you know the history, you know why you are at a particular point, and why and what you should do to move from that particular point to go forward. Okay? That's the reason why we talk about the past.
Let's hear the past.
So, the point is this, that in the past, there was deliberate discrimination against the people from Western Province by the previous regime.
Why was that?
Well, I don't know, but I want to tell you the difference. We who are older, I went to school myself when Kaunda was the president of this country, okay, from independence. When they were building projects, they would start, for example, secondary schools. They would do it in every district starting at the same time. They would do hospitals, same day, this, okay? So during my time, for example, I went to Czech secondary school. When I first went there, to get to Livingston, it used to take 2 days. If you went by the common transport that time, which was by barge, using water, okay, you go to Mambova, then from there. Or it used to take 1.5 hours in a little plane called a Beaver, or maybe 2 to 3 days if you went through Mlobezi. Kaunda put up the Nakatindi Road. 2 days was split. By the time I was finished from 5 to 3 hours, okay? Meaning that they were taking development everywhere. Now, along the way, because of discrimination, the previous government failed even to complete the bridge which was connecting Western Province to the rest of the country. And this is where we started from, okay? When we were campaigning, we used to say, if we're given the opportunity to be in power, the first thing that will be done would be to do the bridge in the Kafue National Park. Even the last time I was here, that's what I said, okay? That bridge, which should have been completed in 2 months, sorry, in 2 years from 2015, stalled. But we have done it ourselves in 1 year, 15 months. Others failed in 7 years. It was deliberate, not that there was no money. It's only that President Hakainde Hichilema, to finish that bridge, he didn't print any money. What he did was only to change the priorities. Why the bridge? The bridge for Western Province was a gateway for everything in terms of what needed to be done much later in terms of roads and everything, infrastructure, let us say, put it that way. Why? Because the Nakatindi Road, which I'm talking about, from Livingston to Sesheke, in such a deplorable state that you could not even imagine, even at the moment, to bring things there to do anything sensible. It takes so long, okay? In a sense, it moved from 3 hours to 8 hours to 9 hours, depending on the type of vehicle you are using, during our lifetime, okay? So, the bridge, thankfully, is done and dusted, and of course, we thank the president for his fortitude, okay? Now, what does that mean? What it means then is that the government now will be able to do anything downstream, meaning from the bridge going that other side. Which are the roads which are giving a problem? In my constituency, that's where the Osaka Road is, and then from Tateyoyo to a place called Katunda just after Kaoma, that's where the road is very bad, okay? So that is giving issues, of course. There is also from that place now to go to Lukulu, to Watopa, now you are going to Northwestern Province. It's very bad, okay? That is also giving a bit of discomfort. Not a bit, but very much discomfort. There is, of course, the Sesheke, Livingston. So in effect, over that period, if you say this country is steeped in debt arising out of what the government did, if you are coming from Western Province, where can you touch to say, at least, yes, the country is broke, but this is what the government did for us? For Kaunda, we have just told you that the one actually who also made Lusaka Mongo Road, even that bridge, is the one who made it. He's the one who took power from Livingston all the way to Kalaba. So if that time the country had gotten bankrupt, you could say, at least if you are from Western Province, this is where the money went. Sesheke Secondary School, Senaga Secondary School, all those. And this is why those people, for us who are my same age like me, we respect them so much. They were not educated to the standard of you people, your age, you know, your age group and so on. You are very educated, but what has happened? So this is why one Zambia, one nation, that time meant a lot. But now, our colleagues left us with a poisoned chalice. Okay? So we had to do, and which had finished literally, Limulunga, Mongo, or Mongo Limulunga Road is done. Again, it had stored during our colleagues' time. Okay? So, very soon, we'll be looking at the Sheke, Livingstone. So that is not even now any issue in a sense that, because we know that the door to fix that has opened, more or less. Okay? So we have now the road between Tatayoyo to the other place, which we have indicated. But again, that road has been assessed. So we know what needs to be done. Okay? So it's now to look for the money to say, okay, let's do this. Okay? And then, of course, we have to look for resources to Lukulu. And of course, you know that when the president went to Angola, it was agreed that the Zambian side would do their road from Tapo up to the border, Mexico, and then those other people from Angola also bring their road bituminous standards. So in effect, a lot is happening, but it's historical. Because if I were to tell you that, just to answer your question without giving the background, you would not understand. Because, for example, you wouldn't even understand that the Kafue Hook Bridge, which was almost killing people, the temporal one, had been there for more than 7 years, when it should have been maybe up to maximum of 6 months in terms of lifespan. Okay? But that is what it is, because now it means the bridge, we are able to transport everything, including heavy equipment. For us, and for people from Western Province, that's a very big achievement. This government also is putting up a bridge, which very soon will be complete on the Lwanginga River, connecting the Liuwa National Park. Liuwa National Park, you know that it's only second to the Serengeti in terms of the migration of the beasts yearly. But who knows about Liuwa National Park? Even the people in Mongo, they don't. Okay?
What are we going to do about it?
Sorry?
What are we going to do about it?
This is what we are doing about this government. I'm saying they have put up a bridge, which has never happened.
Tourism there.
Yes. And then we have a project on tourism to increase access. So, by the end of the year, Liuwa National Park, to get to Liuwa National Park, will not be an issue. Okay? Because there will be access. We'll do the airport in Kalabo, we'll do the airport in Mongo. And so, but then you ask, where have these other people been? If the country is so bankrupt, and we are trying to resolve the issue of the debt. But if we are saying all of us are paying the debt, well, this somebody who said everybody owes, every Zambian owes what, 22,000 kwacha. If you are from Western Province, where can you touch? King Lewanika, which you would have touched, is still in the soil. The stadium is still in the soil. And you are the government.
But what are you mentioned interesting projects, Honorable, a project pertaining, for instance, the stadium. Is there the possibility of that coming to fruition?
Not in the original conceptualized arrangement, because the money effectively was stolen. Okay? So not in that conceptualized. The same thing for King Lewanika University. I mean, look, when you are here in Lusaka, it's difficult to believe that there can be a phantom. Okay? But the phantom is there in different areas. And this is why we say most of these projects would have been much easier if there wasn't so much debt. And they will be much easier to implement when the debt restructuring is done and dusted.
Government critics, Honorable, seated on that same chair, have argued, saying, why is this government also just betting on debt restructuring and on the IMF program, rather? and that this government also is also subjecting the people of Zambia to more debt because it is equally borrowing. I don't know if you would have an opinion on that thought.
Patrick, I have an opinion, like another Zambian. First of all, let's talk about the theory of development at the most basic. Okay? The theory goes like this, that everybody who works pays taxes.
Yes.
And the taxes, sometimes not even working, but every citizen.
Yes.
For example, there's consumptive tax, which is the things you buy. The more you buy, the more you pay.
Yes.
Okay? So every citizen pays taxes. It's from the taxes that money for development ought to come from. Okay? Now, when we compare with the previous regime, which would even say we cannot give those people development because they don't know how to vote, and they deliberately go to implement such a theory in practice, what does it mean? So we will say, me, during that whole period, I was not only paying consumptive taxes, but I was also paying pay-as-you-earn, toll gates and everything.
Exactly.
So when you say no development because you don't know how to vote, the money for people in Western Province over the last 10 years, where has it gone? This is where the issue comes from. And I have just illustrated to say, if you say the country Zambia borrowed so much over the last 10 years, yes, it's okay if the money was used for development.
According to you, the money was not prudently utilized.
Because what I've just given you an example between two governments.
Exactly.
I've said for Kaunda, that first republic, if you say, what did they use the money for in Western Province, the money which all of us pay? I've told you that first they put the road, the Nakatindi road. They put the power up to they put the secondary schools, the hospitals, everything, the bridge, the road to Mongwe. So you could touch. You understand? For this government which is gone, if you are saying you are coming from Western Province, where can you touch? Because first of all, they are the ones who said they would do the Mong Stadium. The Mong Stadium asked me, and I've told you it's in the soil. If you go there, you will not even know that this is where the stadium is. So, it's zero. We go to the kingdom and can visit in the soil. It's bush, apart from a couple of houses. Okay? But then you check the money spent on that place, the money spent on the stadium. Did they do the bridge? The bridge is a linchpin in the Gafia National Park, which they try to do. Okay? And this is why I've told you that from 2015, it was supposed to be 2017, they made a temporary bridge. And that temporary bridge, the lifespan, I think, was 6 months. From 2015, they failed to do that to the extent that the temporary bridge now, their lifespan had expired. It was now a disaster in waiting. They didn't. From 2015 to 2022, it's 7 years. And I'm saying this president, Hakainde, has come, he's done that. So you see, even if they say they borrowed, okay, they borrowed, yes, we are supposed to pay back. But if you come from Western Province, what can you touch and say, this is where the money we are paying has gone? Zero. Honestly speaking. I mean, somebody has to show me and tell me that this is what they have done. They have done zero. And now, we are in the process of to have that debt restructured so that we have a bit of it, because most of the money now, those taxes we are paying, most of that money is going to debt payment. Today there was a question of Mulovesi, rail line and so on.
In Parliament.
In Parliament. You know that part of that Eurobond which was borrowed was to do what? to improve Zambia Railways, to improve ZESCO in then. Has that happened? But the money is gone. But we are compelled to pay. And who is supposed to pay to lead that process? It's this government, isn't it? And then we are trying to do that. And for us, we don't mind the criticism, but we are saying criticism should come from people like yourselves, because you are innocent, not somebody who has put their money in the cookie jar, the hands. You have found them there, but they have failed. And then there are the people in the forefront beating drums. It doesn't work that way.
This government is being accused of targeting those who served in the previous administration in its quest to fight corruption. What would be your perspective on that?
Patrick, there is nobody who can target anybody. When people were stealing, were engaged in corruption, they were doing that in their own personal capacity, not as a family, not as a tribe. You'll be surprised that most of those fellows there, for the ones who are in our category, we went to the same universities together. We went to the same business schools together. We worked for the same companies together. But we used to tell them that this is not the way to do things. Okay? And surely, how can a tribe be an issue when you are being asked to account for what you have done? Even this consumption where you need so many houses for one person. I mean, are you going to sleep in those houses? So many vehicles? No. You also ask the question in the other way to say, okay, and this is actually the most important to say, if Zambia has so much debt, what are the things which can be shown to say this debt, this is where the money has been spent?
They have been pointing roads, for instance, in the case of Lusaka, to say, I think you are preview to those discussions, especially prior to the general election in 2021, to say Zambia has been turned into a construction site. Such a Sonta, I think you are preview to that. So what would be your justification over that?
Patrick, look, even that time I used to say, these social roads here in Lusaka, what do they mean to you and to me? Me, I come from a productive area called Nkehema. Okay? The last time the feeder roads where you bring in maize, you bring vegetables, you bring this were done was during the First Republic under Counter. You understand? He knew. And so when you talk about roads, yes, you are talking about roads in Western Province. Isn't it? That's your question. But there was a government. What have they done? This is the crux of the matter.
Someone wants to interact with us, Honorable. Let me just interrupt you for a while. Hello, you are through to the program. Hello, you are through to the People's Verdict. Hello? I think
it's gone.
Yeah, we could not pick that one.
Yes, I was saying that it's not a matter of slogan, but it's a matter of what I have just demonstrated to you. That what are the highlights? Because you see, development, you are fighting for resources. Even within a province, we have 16 districts. Those districts are fighting for development, the cake, the national cake. Okay? And within the district, you got constituencies, or within the constituency, you got wards and so on. Those wards are fighting for. Where there is fairness is what I've told you, that this is what President Hakainde has done. That he has given effect to decentralization by taking the money. The money where people can say, we want this, you put it there, and so on. So even some of these bridges, which were an issue, we have put them up. They continue, other colleagues still put them up. But when you have a system where, why are people not asking to say, where has the President Hakainde gotten this money? Did he print it to give to the constituencies? No. He put a lot of thought in this. But the most important in terms of decentralization is what he has done. Because all these other people, even the decentralization policy, was it last reviewed in 2013 16, I think 20, around there also. It's something which even the PF found. But who has given effect to it? President Hakainde, because he has given the money. So most of the small things will be
let's
done.
pick this call. Hello, you are through to the program. Hello?
Hello.
Hello, may we have your name and where you are calling us from?
Hello. Evening.
Yes,
Hello.
we can hear you, madam. Are you able to give us your name and where you are calling us from? I think we had a communication breakdown there. You can still call us on the people's verdict in case you just want to give us your perspective and your views. And let's also look at this message. Good evening, Honorable. What is the government planning for the people of Lukulu? The road from Katunda, Lukulu, Watopa is in the deplorable state. The government must hear our cry. Voters, Nosiku Mushe from Lusaka. This is a concern about that road, Honorable. You can
Okay, so the issue is this. First of all, this government appreciates that the people of Lukulu, the end result, even for us, is to put a bituminous standard road there and beyond, okay? Which we are committed to. This government has put 10 million kwacha to do that road currently, and it's being done, okay? To make it motorable once, while we are still waiting for the final solution.
Okay.
What have we done before? We've done the same thing we put money in Sioma, Shangombo Road. What used to take 10 hours, now it takes 3 hours. The difference in 7 hours is what this government has put there in terms of making the road motorable.
We have another caller. Hello, you are through to the people's verdict.
Good evening.
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir.
Yes, you're speaking to Moses.
Moses from where?
From Lukulu.
Lukulu. You can go ahead and give us your contribution, sir.
Okay, my contribution this evening is I wanted to ask you, although I've seen the message from Moshe, but it's the same concern of the Lukulu Road. Lukulu, Katuna Road. People are really suffering there, and this they are not Gambians. So what is the government's plan? Because we are cost of water and the other districts. But why is it that the Lukulu which is being neglected? Oh, we have government that comes to
Interesting. I think we did get Moses' contribution there. It is pertaining to the road, and that's the Lukulu. And the Honorable was responding to the same question, and we are going to allow him to continue responding. But in case you also want to join us, you can give us that call instantly before we wind up, because we are towards the 10 minutes of our program. But let me allow the Honorable to respond to this concern from Moses. Thank
you very much. Patrick, as a matter of fact, realistically, you can see that this is a legacy issue, isn't it?
Yes.
Exactly. What we have said is that we are committed to make that road. This government is committed to make that road to bituminous standard. But there are stages, okay? Right now, I've said this government has put 10 million kwacha in that road, which none the previous ones haven't done, to make it motorable, okay? And I was giving an example to say, we put also money 6.5 million between Sioma and Shangombo. What used to take 10 hours to 9 hours, now it takes 3 hours. The difference is what this government has done. We also put money in the Mulowezi-Mgoma Road. The number of hours also has reduced tremendously. But the people of Lukulu, definitely they have a point. They are justified. And that's why, to be honest, they cannot accept even the goodwill. They will say stories, because this is what used to happen before.
Exactly.
Okay? But we want to tell them and assure them that all will be well. And this is what I was saying, to say, if you are staying in Lukulu, why would you have been a member of the PF? And then you are campaigning, then you recruit that PF is doing this, PF is doing that. Because as a government, they are supposed to think about those people. You ask what they used to do. They took a grader, we are making this road, and so on. After elections, the grader was taken to Sesheke. Sesheke, we are making the road after elections, everything. Now, that's not the way you treat citizens, okay? And every government takes over from another. It's a continuous process, and that's why we're saying the money people pay taxes should be used for development, irrespective of their political persuasion. And the people of Rukuru have a right to demand for that road, and they will get it. But it's a process, okay? And I've told you that if we were to do a priority, we have a road between Isesheke, Livingstone, very dire, economic road, and so on. So in the overall scheme of things, that's why we have thought of that one to be the first, okay? We have the one in my constituency, which I've indicated, which actually ends up from Tatayoyo, Katunda turnoff, and that's where the Rukuru Road starts from going, and so on. That's a priority, okay? We have also a road from Kasepa, Kaoma, Luampa. That's also a priority because in terms of economic, very important, because it's supposed to bring copper from northwestern to countries beyond. As a matter of fact, the person who is doing that road at the moment, managing it, is a private operator. In a sense, like they are doing a favor to the government, but they are doing a favor to themselves because they found that to come through Copper Belt and all this, plus the toll gate, plus the what, they are better off, they are cheaper. When they did their sums, they found that is good. But it's a very important thing. So, in the context of what needs to be done, they need to do this. But then the other side, you have heard the people fail to do anything, saying you are favoring yourselves, and so now it's only now that we are seeing that the construction side of a country which they used to talk about is not there. Because even them now, they are talking. And then we are asking them, but before you used to say everything was okay. That's the iron of life.
Now, okay, let's pick this call. You are through to the program. Good evening. Okay, we are picking this text message. Good evening, Honorable Minister, and good evening, presenter. We are enjoying the program. The Minister is representing Western Province very well. We are requesting the Honorable Minister to consider creating a new district at Matalumbe and Namukomba. Our increased population is facing very serious challenges to access social services at the Senanga and Mungu Boma due to distance and geographical location. Mr. Iluya, watching from Mataolumbe. Interesting views there. He just also enjoying the program, but also making that request that you should lobby to the president that they should have another district. What would be your immediate response?
Well, the immediate response is that the creation of districts in the theory is ideal because then you are bringing services nearer to the people. But again, because of historical background, we still have issues with the previous districts which were proclaimed in 2013, 2014. You have Nkema, where I come from. You have Mitete. You have Shangombo. You have Sikongo, Mlobezi, Nalolo, Limlunga. In most all these districts, there were just proclamations, but there were no supporting infrastructure to support the idea. So what you have now, that even though officers were appointed, they have been made to be out of pocket. Why? Because if I were to give an example, those people who are supposed to work at Limulunga and but fine are supposed to be in a place called Kate, most of them stay in Mongo. So it means they have to find transport money to go to Limulunga and back. Very expensive. In my own constituency, the people stay in either Kaoma or TBZ. Similarly, the people in East Congo, they stay in Kalabo, and so on. So it's a very precarious, but the idea is good, yes. The idea is good, provided we put our house in order in this particular arrangement. But it's good if those places being proposed meet the criteria. Obviously, if a need, it requires the competent authorities to look at that, and yeah.
Well, I want us to wind up with these questions, and that's a question pertaining to the cashew nut project, because we cannot talk about Western Province without talking about that very much pronounced project, and we want to find out how is it doing and what are the prospects of that project. And our reporter was in Shangombo recently. There has been concern that the area may be affected by hunger, in that they experienced some dry spells, especially during the 2022-2023 farming season. What would be your immediate response as we wind up?
Okay, so let me start with the hunger situation. Yes, it's true. There are places where hunger will definitely be a challenge. So we'll have to look to central government, the MMU, to facilitate because of the weather patterns, the global warming. Some places, freak storms, some places, floods, some places, no rain, and so it's a mixed bag. But that is correct. So we will have to work on that to make sure that we avert the citizen suffering. The cash project which you mentioned, in my own opinion, has not been a success the way it should have been. Okay? Because cashew, at the moment, and most of the time, the price is higher than copper. Okay? So for Western Province, where the cashew nut grows, and if the project was managed properly, we would not be where we are today. Okay? So from our point of view, the project needs to be put properly on stream, because a lot of wrong things went under. So, for example, me as the provincial minister, I have been told that X number of trees were planted, but in my own way, I believe that for me to believe that those are the trees, we have to take out a census to determine that exactly these are the trees. But what I have seen does not constitute what is being said. Secondly, there are a lot of issues associated to the way the project was managed, okay, in terms of what was intended and what finally came out. And then even if you were to go to now to do a comparison and so on. So we are trying to make sure that we understand what happened and put the thing properly. Is it a wrong project or a bad project? The answer is no. That is a very, very important and critical project for the Western Province and for the country as well. In Tanzania, there's an area called Mtwara where they grow cashew nuts. And that area is rich. Tanzania also, in relative terms, is rich because of cashew nuts, the sort of money they earn in foreign exchange, which we should be able to do. But unfortunately, again, because of the endemic issues associated with the previous administration, that became a cash cow, a grave trade, which now has made the process not to be as good as it should have been. Yeah.
Interesting. Honorable Minister, I would like to thank you for finding time to be with us this evening.
No, thanks a lot for having me to give some reflection of some of the issues.
Thank you. Well, our dear viewers, this is where we have to call it a day on the People's Verdict. But be sure to join us next week when we come with another interesting edition of the People's Verdict. This has been Patrick Soko, and I've been discussing development prospects with the Minister of Western Province and also Emma Member of Parliament, KAPELWA MBANGWETA. Those of you who managed to reach us via text We value your contribution, and those of you who managed to call, we thank you. And sad enough for those of you who couldn't go through for us to get your perspective or your contribution to the program. Try again next time because we value your contribution. Remember that here on the People's Verdict, we ask the question and wow, you make the verdict. So this is where we have to say bye-bye, but remember to always keep it on Camnet TV for the rest of the programming, because Camnet TV is not just another channel.